On these slides, we'll go more in depth into the building blocks of language in 5 levels. As you can see, the 5 levels we'll be talking about are listed on the left side of this slide. At the bottom is metalinguistic awareness. Although metalinguistic awareness is not one of the 5 levels we'll be discussing in terms of the language construct, it's a really important feature of language that's necessary for individuals to be able to monitor the language that they're producing and communicating and make sure that others will be able to interpret and understand. Because of that, we've chosen to include it here. Now, it's likely that as I go through the information on these slides, the content's already familiar to many, if not all of us. Because of that, I really want to encourage everyone, as you're going through the mini lecture, to just think really specifically about the way each of these language levels occur and impact the work that you do directly with students, either in your classrooms or if you're working individually with students. In this course, we want to start thinking about the way we can use this knowledge of language and the knowledge of these constructs to understand where and why students might be struggling in the classroom and the kinds of strategies we might be able to use to support them in their learning. Let's begin. The first 2 levels are phonemes and morphemes. Phonemes are the sounds in words. They're the smallest contrastive units in our system of language. It's the b in book or the k in cook. Phonemes and phonemic awareness are emphasized highly in early childhood classrooms because phonemic awareness is really crucial for learning to decode and learning to read fluently. Morphemes are the smallest unit that hold meaning in our language system. It's what takes happy to unhappy with the introduction of the prefix un. It's what takes one duck to multiple ducks when we pluralize it with the s. For students who struggle with phonemes, that might look like difficulty perceiving differences between sounds and words, or difficulty discerning the individual sounds that compose a whole word, as in phonemic segmentation. The common practice of teaching reading through sounding out words like k, a, t, cat, and putting them back together can be quite challenging for a student who struggles with phonemes. That same student might have little appreciation or understanding of rhyming and alliteration. That person might struggle to hear rhymes, generate rhymes, or hear and generate alliterative phrases. For students struggling with morphemes, this might look like difficulty understanding and using morphemes. Language output may sound ungrammatical as compared to peers. For a kindergartner to say something like, I runned home, wouldn't stand out as compared to peers in their use of grammar. However, for an 8th grader to say, I runned home, that could provide a clue for a teacher or someone working with that person that the student may be struggling with morphemes. The next levels are semantics and syntax. Semantics has to do with vocabulary. It's the interpretation of the meaning of a word or a phrase. I am running can hold multiple meanings, and students need to be able to tell the difference between the way that word is being used in a sentence or a phrase in order to make meaning from communication. Syntax is the arrangement of words in a sentence, and that matters a lot for interpreting text as well. The man walks the dog versus the dog walks the man holds very different meaning, yet occurs through a very small switch of just 2 words in a sentence. For students struggling with semantics, this might look like a limited vocabulary and a rigid, superficial, or limited grasp of the meaning of words. It may involve difficulty understanding the nuances of words, or literary devices such as metaphors, irony, analogy. It may look like difficulty with word retrieval, or difficulty with the multiple meanings of words. Students struggling with semantics may be slow to incorporate new vocabulary, fit new words, and make sense of how new words fit into existing vocabulary. Students struggling with syntax have difficulty with sentence comprehension. They also have difficulty in formulating sentences, and therefore tend to overuse simple or declarative statements when speaking. These students may have difficulty learning the rules and regularities of grammar and using them themselves. We may see word omissions in writing, absent word endings, and errors in agreement. Finally, there's discourse and metalinguistic awareness. Discourse is language in those big chunks. It's what's involved when we tell stories, give oral presentations, or engage in lengthy conversations. Being able to generate discourse and process discourse is really important for engaging in conversations and in following the trajectory of ideas as a person is speaking at length. And metalinguistic awareness is thinking about language. Metalinguistic awareness is distinct because it's internal, it's implicit, and it's often unconscious. It's the questions we ask ourselves when we're writing. Is it where or where this time? Is this the case where I use the apostrophe in its or not? Metalinguistic awareness in this way is quite subtle, yet it's really important for checking to make sure that the communication we generate internally is able to be interpreted by others in the world. Now, students' struggles with discourse might look like difficulty keeping up with discussions or lengthy lectures, difficulty processing, understanding, and remembering lengthy text. Again, it may result in short and unelaborated communication and difficulty organizing ideas in sequence. Students who struggle with discourse often have problems with summarization and synthesis of information in texts. And when reading aloud, we may hear problems with inflection and appropriate ways to communicate through speech. Once you've finished listening to this mini lecture, please download these slides and then you can click on Stephanie's story. And here you'll meet a student who struggles with language, and it certainly has impacted her learning at school. You'll have an opportunity to find out more about Stephanie and also get a chance to see the specific instructional strategies her teachers have designed to support her and her learning. As you watch the video, please consider the following questions. Which levels of language do you think are the greatest challenges for Stephanie? How do Stephanie's struggles impact her learning at school? And what kinds of instructional strategies are her teachers using to support her and support her learning? I hope you found this mini lecture valuable, and I look forward to seeing many of you on Wednesday at our first Collaborate session.